I'll announce when they're ready to go live with the broadcast.
Okay, you're live now.
Good evening. My name is Constant Pahalik. I represent Greenleaf Botanicals, and along with Mary Bentley, who's also a co-founder of Greenleaf Botanicals. And tonight we are presenting to the community a public outreach meeting. And tonight we're going to talk about a proposed adult use cannabis retail store located at 88 Massachusetts Avenue in Lunenburg. And we will go into a presentation in a detail about an outreach about what we propose at that location. And the purpose of an outreach meeting is for the people, both abutters, residents, and anyone of interest to ask questions about what we propose for our facility over at 88 Massachusetts Avenue. And we will go into descriptive detail concerning this facility with questions and answers sessions. And during the presentation, there are areas, however, that are confidential that we can't go into extreme depth, such as security and anything related to security. We will have to, we'll explain generally how it works, but we can't go into specific details on security as we are required for the Cannabis Control Commission and along with the local law enforcement and state law enforcement regarding that. But tonight we will hopefully address many issues that any of you may have concerning our facility. And we would like to begin with a presentation that we'll start with a PowerPoint presentation, and we'll tell you all about a little bit about what we present and who we are and what we're proposing for the town. Our company, as you see, Greenleaf Botanicals, and my name is Constant Pahalik. I am an attorney, and my background is in the area of land use planning, zoning, personal injury, and bankruptcy. I also am a consultant to the cannabis industry concerning many retail stores, along with an ownership in retail stores, and also involved in the golf course industry. So I've seen the industry in both the regulation of alcohol as it relates to country clubs, golf courses, and also the regulation of marijuana products as it relates to cannabis retail, both retail and wholesaling and growing facilities, and the regulations that are required through by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Cannabis Control Commission. And the Cannabis Control Commission is the state licensing commission and board. And similar to what is similar to the ABCC. I've been a practicing attorney for approximately 30 years. And I basically have been able to go through different areas of regulations and regulatory issues concerning these types of retail stores. I'd like to also introduce you to Mary Bentley, who is also the co-founder of Greenleaf Botanicals, and she can introduce you and tell you a little bit about herself.
Yeah, certainly. Did we want to go? Actually, could we have the first slide, because sure. we have a slide for both of us as well. So why don't I just talk a little bit about our company first. So it's called Greenleaf Botanicals Incorporated. It's a Massachusetts-owned company. We're both residents of this state and lifelong residents of this state, actually. And we're really committed to creating a retail store which will offer high quality, safely tested marijuana and marijuana products to consumers who are 21 years and older. We've assembled quite an experienced team of professionals, and their experience kind of runs the gamut from retail, public health, data analytics, legal, and marketing. So there's quite a few professionals involved in this venture, as you can imagine. Next slide, please. I think you're going, oh, there we go. Boy, my picture looks very large. Okay. So this is just a little bit about me. I have a graduate degree in public health, PhD from actually the University of Massachusetts Medical School, their graduate school of biomedical sciences. I also have a master's degree in public health from the University of Massachusetts School of Public Health in Amherst, and I have an undergraduate degree from Boston College in Chestnut Hill. I have over 20 years of work experience as in public health and also as a biostatistician. I've also worked at Yale University working as an associate research scientist, and also I did a postdoctoral fellowship at Yale. And I've also worked for many years at the University of Massachusetts Medical School as well. Currently, I'm a consultant, and I own my own business since 2015. And I also do some consulting work for another cannabis company since 2019. That's the Green River Cannabis Company. Next slide, please.
As I brief in my introduction to the outreach meeting, my name is Constant Pahalik, co-founder. I am a practicing attorney, graduated from New England School of Law at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. I am attorney licensed to practice in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And as I stated earlier, I am a litigator in the area of land use planning and business development. I am also a cannabis consultant for the Green River Cannabis Facility company in Greenfield and several other cannabis facilities in the state. Also a golf course owner since 1982, and basically specializing in many areas of the golf industry, specifically in the area of managing people, food, beverage licensing, marketing, and merchandising. Which required me, and specifically is in this industry regarding regulations of alcohol consumption, retail sales of alcohol. And also has brought me into the marijuana, adult cannabis, on which looking through the looking at the regulations and actually with zoning and compliance in the marijuana industry. We are proposing an adult use cannabis marijuana store at 88 Massachusetts Avenue. And many of you are familiar probably with this location as an old rental center. Where we intend to establish this is on the rear unit of 88 Massachusetts Avenue. And we will show you in the further slides as far as how the layout of the land is. At this particular location, we will not cultivate and or manufacture any marijuana products. This will strictly be a retail store in adult use. Adult use as opposed to a medical use, which means that the general public can come in during business hours, provided they are over 21 years of age, they have proper identification, they can come in and purchase the product. They can either purchase it at the retail store personally, or they'll be able to come in on an appointment-only basis, depending on how they want to purchase the product, when they want to purchase the product. There will be no on-site consumption. The regulations do not allow that, and we would not allow that. So there's no on-site consumption. A customer will strictly come into this facility, purchase their product, and leave. Can I have the next slide, please? There's another background, as I mentioned to you a little earlier, the previous slide. If you look, this is the left-hand side of 88 Massachusetts Avenue. So if the left-hand picture depicts the front view of the building, and to the left, with the parking lot, where there's a large parking lot, we propose to build out the facility underneath the overhang where you see the garage doors. That'll actually be the entrance to the facility and the entrance and the exit to the facility, which compiles of close to approximately 2,000 square feet in the rear. We picked this location because we feel there's plenty of parking. It's off the it's not blatantly right in the front of the building. It's sort of in the side of the building, but yet it can be visually seen from the street, from pretty much a straight angle from the street. And we feel that this was an excellent location for this store. Next slide, please.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, what Constant was saying, we felt also it was a great location because and I'm sure all of you know where it's located, but it's so close to the city line of Fitchburg as well. So we really wanted to take into consideration the fact that we did not want it to impact the residents of Lunenburg, and we certainly did not want it near the center of town or near any schools or baseball fields or sports fields or anything like that, or churches. So we just felt that this was just a great location and a great spot for this particular store. I'm sorry, Constant.
No, that's fine. And as Mary has stated, as you can see from the depiction of the land use map, the red square basically depicts the actual unit that we will be operating the store out of. So as you see, it's the rear of the unit, rear left, I should say, with the actual entrances on the left. The space has plenty of parking because we have over 27 parking spaces just in the front area, with additional parking on the left is a left-hand lot and an additional 12 parking spaces in the rear. We just felt this location was great in the sense that off-street parking would not be an issue. Location is approximate location, which, on Massachusetts Avenue, which is in a very close proximity to Fitchburg. And as Mary said, not a direct location into the downtown Lunenburg. So we would actually, with this pocket, we felt this is a perfect location to have this facility. Next slide. This slide depicts the typical interior of the store. And basically what we intend is that, as you see in the slide to the left, there'll be a check-in vestibule where the customer will come in, have to show their license to show it so that they're 21 years of age or older. Their license will be scanned. They will be let in through an electronic door and typically into the facility, which this just is an example of the interior of the store, where there will be a display of products, which will all lock in a locked cabinet, and on top of the counter is the POS system, and basically there'll be bud tenders who are the sales clerks that will be selling the product, and also giving consultations to the customer about the product. And we'll go in a little bit further into that. Next slide. As far as the Lunenburg zoning bylaws, we're proposing the marijuana retail store. We're in a commercial zoning district, and a commercial zoning district is pretty much designated based on the bylaw for the town that a marijuana retail establishment could be located in the zoning district. In accordance with the Cannabis Control Commission, one of the issues that unless it's not stated otherwise, the bylaw, that the property could not be located within 500 feet of a public or private school that provides education to children in kindergarten or grades 1 through 12. In addition to complying with the cannabis control regulations, we also have to comply with the towns of Lunenburg's bylaws, zoning bylaws. And we have to apply for a special permit and submit a site plan, and have the planning board review that, and also to obtain a special permit to open this facility at this location. So there's quite a few steps that we have to go through. But tonight we're trying to introduce to you this the location and what we have to go just to proceed forward. And if you see 88 Massachusetts Avenue, most of the properties in the area are commercial in the area. And it's in a commercial zone. And as I stated earlier, the actual hearing, any of the issues regarding the zoning or local permitting would be addressed through the planning board, the zoning, and also through the building department. And we also have to work closely with the police department and the fire department concerning security and any other municipal requirements that would be required through the departments. Next slide. Mary?
Sure. So the benefits to Lunenburg, there are actually quite a few, and we just wanted to highlight this tonight. Obviously we're coming in and we're hoping to be able to be a contributing member of really the Lunenburg community. And so one of the ways that we can do that is by creating this retail store. We can offer more jobs, and obviously we would be offering, we're estimating probably about 8 to 10 full-time and part-time jobs. And we also would be hiring local contractors and vendors. And these jobs, we would want to give really Lunenburg residents first choice of these jobs. So that's one benefit we're bringing in. We're also bringing in a monetary benefit. And the next step in this process is to obtain what's called a host community agreement with the town of Lunenburg. And this does have significant monetary payments associated with it. It's 3% of retail sales that occur at the retail store. And this can be in addition to local property taxes that are also charged for the retail sales as well. And this can be used any way that the town of Lunenburg decides that, in their best interest to use this particular money. So that's another benefit. As I mentioned, the local sales tax revenue up to 3% on each retail sale. Also, there's economic development. It will help again to bring more businesses into Lunenburg and contribute to the overall economic development of the local community. Next slide, please. And another benefit would be there is control by the Lunenburg Police Department, according to with the Cannabis Control Commission regulations, and there are many regulations associated with this type of industry. And so we will really be working hand in hand with the Lunenburg Police Department and other municipal departments to really make sure our security systems are appropriate and sufficient for this particular industry and so forth. So that's another benefit. Responsibility, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be comprised of many actually experienced professionals and everyone that's hired is actually going to go through a background check and be scrutinized by the Cannabis Control Commission. And also, by having marijuana legalized, it's something that by having it legalized, people that choose to purchase this particular product, and they have to be 21 and over, will have access to really a quality product that will be tested and also regulated. And this will also help to eliminate the current black market. So there's benefits definitely there. And I have some research that I have found that in some upcoming slide that I'll talk about too that's related to this as well. I also wanted to mention a couple other things that we didn't get on into our slide presentation. But the Cannabis Control Commission also, for this particular industry, is asking everyone that gets involved in this and has a retail store to develop what's called a positive impact, how we're going to positively impact areas of disproportionate impact. And actually, one of the areas that the state of Massachusetts has identified as being disproportionately impacted by cannabis previously being prohibited and not legal is Fitchburg. And so we've come up with a couple items, at least 3 or 4 actually, that we feel will positively impact this area. And one of them is having a legal counsel come in and basically look at records of people that that may have been negatively impacted because of the cannabis prohibition, as I mentioned, and advise them how to expunge their records and so forth. So that's one way. We also are proposing we want to have at least 4 educational seminars during the year, every quarter, and this will be open to the public, and anyone can attend basically. And we'll talk about a number of different subjects such as accounting, bookkeeping, business practices, management, cannabis control regulations, and application processes in case anyone is interested in getting involved in this business. So that's something that we have to do. The Cannabis Control Commission is also requiring that we come up with an energy plan. And there's 4 different areas in that plan that we have to meet. One of them is renewable energy generation, such as solar panels and so forth. Another one is energy use reduction opportunities and how we'll do that. And I think an example of that would be replacing lights with LED light bulbs, monitoring any type of energy consumption. We also want to reduce the electric demand that we're using, and we also are going to get involved in energy efficiency programs, such as, for instance, Mass Save is one of them that can help us with this. And one other area that the Cannabis Control Commission also is requiring this industry to get involved with is diversity and to promote equity. And so we have several different groups here, minority groups, women, veterans, people with disabilities, and people who identify as LGBTQ. And so again, what we're proposing is that we're going to, our goal over the next 3 years is to hire at least 50% or more of individuals that fall into these categories. And we want to provide employment opportunities, obviously. And we also want to provide an opportunity to shadow the managers in our retail store and possibly mentor folks from these different categories to develop their skills and increase their knowledge. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that, we want to be a good partner. We want to be a contributing member to Lunenburg. Next slide, please.
So as you see the next slide, this is a schematic that we developed just to give a sort of a demonstration as to what would happen when a typical customer would come to the dispensary to purchase their product. So the customer arrives outside of the dispensary. So they'll park their car, obviously, in the parking lot. There'll be security in the parking lot. The customer will get out of their car and they will go into security, which we showed you in earlier slides, sort of a vestibule, or security will be there checking their ID outside or in the vestibule, making sure they're vetted, that they're 21 years of age or older, and that they have a valid ID, Massachusetts license, and or any other state ID that is a valid ID or passport to prove their age. Then the customer will then be buzzed in through electronic door, and they will enter the secure area where their ID will be scanned. Now they're into the main retail area which is the main retail area of the store, to purchase their product, which they will then proceed to the counter and they will meet with the sales clerk and they review a menu of the products. Now they will have menu boards on the wall, probably in the form of an LED television screen. And they will be able to see the products that the dispensary has for sale. And they will also, the sales clerk or the bud tender will actually give them help in the selection process. And from that point, the customer will then make a decision as to the product that they will buy. And typical product, could be an edible product. It could be a topical product. It could be a bud product, loose cannabis. And then once they decide on their product, the bud tender will then package their product up in a sealable bag that is stapled with a receipt. And prior to purchasing, again, they will check the ID of that customer so it's a double ID checking process. And at that point, the customer will pay for their product, which will either be in the form of cash or a debit card. And the transaction will be complete. The customer will leave with their sealed bag and they will be escorted out of the facility with the security guard and then leave the dispensary. And at that point, they will proceed back to their car and then they will leave the facility, immediately leave the parking lot if they purchase their product. During this whole process, the customer will be on camera from the time they enter the parking lot till the time they purchase their product, get through vending, through the vetting of their license inside the store, and then when they leave. So the whole transaction will actually be on video. That is required by the Cannabis Control Commission. That's controlled by the Mass General laws, that we actually keep video of all of our transactions. Not only do we keep a video of all our transactions, but all of our products are coded and inventoried, and any marijuana product that is produced in Massachusetts, which we could only purchase from Massachusetts wholesalers, will actually have a serial number encoded on that from the time that product is a seed to the time that product arrives to our store to the time it goes to the customer as a sale. So that product can be tracked from our store all the way back to where that was manufactured, or actually where the product was grown in Massachusetts. We will also, our point of sale computer systems will track all of the inventory, and our point of sale system also will be tracking the inventory that it's called the metric system, back to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Cannabis Control Commission, so they can actually track all of our inventory, both visually through video and also through our point of sale cash register, along with the cameras, which the local police department will have 24-hour access to our camera system to be able to observe what's happening in the store, along with us keeping, as by law, keeping 90 days of the tapes of 90 days of our transactions, or 90 consecutive calendar days of the transactions that occur in the store. So we're very secure as far as security, and along with that, we'll have perimeter lighting around the entire facility, including the parking lots. So it'll be well lit during the nighttime, and along with security guards, security personnel, I should say. Next slide, please. And typically, we have a professional security personnel that will work for us, and also we have alum companies that will design our security system along with our video system. All of our exits, our entries, windows, all of the point of entries will be connected to the security system. We'll have a dual backup, and here's where I can't get into the state-of-the-art security system, but the security system has a dual backup system, which just basically will alert if there's a system, it's an impossibility for system failure because of the dual system. So we'll have some battery and or generator backup system with our security system. And as I stated earlier, all of our video surveillance will be 24/7 available to the Lunenburg Police Department and State Police Department, including the Cannabis Control Commission. And all of our systems will remain operational in the event of any power outages at all. Next slide. As I said earlier, all of the customers will be, they have to be you have to be at least 21 years of age to be able to visit the facility and purchase. There's no outside visitor. If an employee was working here, they do not have authorized access to visit an employee, strictly a customer. If there was any reason that any type of vendor had to come on premises, they would have to be authorized and they would have to actually sign a visitor log, and a badge would be given to that person. So no outside access other than the customer at any time when the facility is open. As I stated earlier, the exterior will be sufficiently lit and high visibility at all times. All of our agents and visitors will be required to display and wear an ID badge at all times, and we'll have a current list of all the individuals that have access. All of our agents, employees will also undergo a training session and a continuing education training yearly and actually when they first start employment of at least 8 hours of training. And that training is in the area of customer relations, security, how to handle issues that could potentially arise in the establishment, such as they're trained on how to check IDs, how to recognize a valid ID from an invalid ID, such as the ABCC, that and they're trained to basically understand the products that they're selling and the background of all of the operations. And all, as we stated earlier, too, security personnel will be on premise at all times during business hours, and there will be no on-site consumption of marijuana at any time, not even to the extent of a person's not going to go into the parking lot, open their bag, and then open their product. That's why the bag is from the point of sale. It is sealed, and that person, the customer, is understood that when they leave, they go to their car, they take that sealed bag with their product in it that they purchased, and they leave our premise. Next slide, please. As far as the retail sales, we went over the fact that you have to be 21 years of age, you need a photo ID to enter the dispensary, purchase marijuana. All of our products, so all of Greenleaf's products, will be purchased from other licensed marijuana establishments in the Commonwealth, and they're all tested by an independent testing lab for the cannabinoid content and the contaminants. So we're only allowed to purchase from a wholesaler in Massachusetts, and only allowed to transport that marijuana with a licensed transporter, so that we purchase from the wholesaler. The wholesaler either has a license to transport, and then they deliver that product to our facility, and or the wholesaler actually has their own transportation, licensed transportation. They will deliver that product. Our delivery there'll be certain times that our products will be delivered. We will have a secure delivery area with a sally port. And for those of you that don't know what a sally port is, it's basically a fenced in area that's not visible from the street when the delivery comes in. It'll be in an unmarked vehicle, a van. And we will then at that point, all the product will be inventoried and then put directly into our safe. So we will have a safe that is similar to a vault in a bank. But constructed in a different way, but it actually is actually a safe, and that safe, only certain people in the facility would have access to that product. That product will be put into that, after it's inventory, will be put into the safe after that delivery, and will only come out as needed, and only certain the dispensary manager would have access to the product to basically distribute that to the retail bud tenders, depending on the orders and the flow of business for that day. at the end of the day or the end of the night, any products that were on display in the sales retail sales area will actually be taken out of the sales case and actually put into the safe at the end of the night, and the safe is locked, and basically there would be no access to that until business hours the following day, so that all products are locked in. We also, along with selling the product, retail marijuana product, we also want to educate the customers on the range of topics and specifically in the area of side effects, strains, and methods of distribution. We could recommend the dosages, and we could also recognize or at least counsel on any of people that would have a substance abuse. We can actually counsel, and I know that Mary has been heavily into a lot of in the area of medical research and counseling, and we're working together to come up with the different educational materials for the customers and for the parties, or just in general. We may have a call, or someone may come in just for education reasons about marijuana. They may have never tried a marijuana product before, and they may want education, because many people will say, well, gee, here is an edible, and it says it has melatonin in it, and it has a little bit of THC. What was that good for? What could I use that product for? And then we would educate that person and explain to them what the proper administration, the proper dosage of that product, what it would be used for. And as earlier, as I stated, marijuana products are sold in plain, resealable, tamper and child-resistant packaging. And all of our products and all of the products that are sold at any marijuana retail store are detailed labeling on those products, and they're encoded with a serial number, et cetera. So you can backtrack that product all the way to the wholesaler, all the way back to the original grower. We will not sell more. We're not allowed to sell more than 1 ounce of marijuana, 1 ounce of marijuana flower, or 5 grams of concentrate to any consumer per transaction. And none of the marijuana products are allowed to have any nicotine or alcohol in them. So they're. Next slide. Mary, do you?
Oh, certainly. We obviously want to avoid creating a nuisance to the town of Lunenburg with this particular retail store. So all litter and waste will obviously be properly disposed of to certainly minimize or prevent any development of odor or potential for attracting pests such as, rats or anything like that. We will not use any radios or loudspeaker equipment for advertising of marijuana. And we will not engage in any advertising or marketing practices using public or private vehicles or public transportation venues. Obviously, we do not want to address anyone that is under 21 with any marketing practices. So we will not be engaging in anything like that. Let's see. We will obviously comply with special permit conditions that are required by the town of Lunenburg, and address any reasonable nuisance concerns that are brought to our attention by the members of the community. Again, as I said, we want to be a contributing member and a good member of the community of Lunenburg. No marijuana or marijuana products will be clearly visible to a person from the exterior of Greenleaf's facility or any delivery vehicles. If at this point we don't have any delivery vehicles, we're not going to be delivering any marijuana. This is just strictly retail. But there won't be anything that will be clearly visible to a person that's outside of the facility. If there is any windows, many retail stores will use kind of like a glazing or a frosting on the windows so that you cannot see in. And if that's the case, that is something that we will do. We will not install any neon or illuminated signage, does not comply with local ordinances. No consumption, as Constant mentioned, will occur on Greenleaf's premises by consumers, employees, or visitors. And we will also prepackage our products and use carbon filtration or other air ventilation procedures to minimize any potential odors. Next slide, please.
When we talk about diversion to the community, and I know we've emphasized this many times tonight throughout this presentation, but specifically, our dispensary agents are trained and we are trained, and basically the law is that the consumer has to be 21 years of age and they have to be verified. They have to valid photo ID. If they cannot produce that, then they cannot enter the facility. We also are self-policing in many respects. If any of our agents ever were negligently or intentionally sold marijuana to an individual under the age of 21, we are all trained, including all of our staff, that the agent will be terminated, and the CCC in the town of Lunenburg would be notified immediately. That is a very strict compliance, and we're very, very strict both from a legal standpoint and from an administrative standpoint. Any of the marketing that we would have would be more likely than not in the form of a web-based advertising or promotions, that if we were to promote product, and that would be targeted to 21 years of age. In fact, even to get into any of our web pages, you have to be vetted, and a question would come up and say, are you 21 years of age or older? You must be 21 years of age or older, even to generate access to the website. We don't intend to manufacture any or sell any products that would resemble, for instance, an animal, a fruit, artistic caricature. When we grew up as kids, like Teddy Grahams, I think it was called. No, we're not doing it. Nothing like that. None of these products. These are strictly edibles that are been approved by the Cannabis Control Commission, and also through the independent testing labs. And as I said earlier, you have to be 21 years of age just to access our website. And we will also not hire any personnel at all that is under the age of 21. We cannot, that's not allowed, and not our policy. We cannot do that. And anyone who's convicted of any type of a distribution of controlled substances to minors, anyone's been convicted of anything such as that, obviously that would come up. We do a background check, a thorough background check of all of our employees, including a criminal background check, along with the training. So every employee that would work at the facility would be thoroughly investigated, and through training, through a background check, through a query check. Next slide, please.
So this is some what's called evidence-based research, and there's quite a bit that's been done on cannabis and cannabis use and so forth. And so these were 3 studies that I wanted to point out tonight to you. And so the first one that was done in March of 2019, which was quite obviously had quite a large sampling of data, 1.3 billion opioid prescriptions, and found actually that recreational and medical cannabis laws actually reduced the use of prescription opioids by 6.9% for recreational and 6.1% for medical cannabis. So that's very good news. And also the researchers for this study found that the total number of days per opioid prescription, the number of patients to whom providers prescribe opioids, and the probability that a provider prescribes any opioids was also reduced. So there was definitely a positive outcome. in that particular study. Also in September of 2018, another study which analyzed a total of 55 studies, and basically looked at all of the results from those studies, found that adolescent marijuana use did not increase after cannabis is legalized. So again, and there's other studies that are also showing that outcome as well. So these three studies have actually been replicated in the literature and by other, using other sampling, other areas of the country and so forth. And the third study that I just wanted to point out is from the American Medical Association, and it's a pediatric study. And again, they found that marijuana use among youth may decline after recreational legalization. And again, this particular study is talking about adolescents and the use of marijuana, and what they are concluding here is that probably what's happening is that it's harder for teenagers to obtain marijuana, as the drug dealers, the black market, is basically being replaced by licensed dispensaries. So next slide, please.
So as we talked earlier in the presentation, we will, along with the select board in the town of Lunenburg, enter into a host agreement in which we, as the Greenleaf Botanicals, would be paying 3% of our gross sales to the town for the cannabis products. And this would be paid on a yearly basis, paying the 3%. And that specifically, we have a contract as to also what our requirements are in the town, with the town. We would have in this host agreement as far as our security, as far as payments of taxes, excise taxes, and specifically how we relate as a retail cannabis business in the town, specifically through this agreement. So it's and we have certain rights and responsibilities that we have to adhere to as a adult cannabis dispensary, and it's a mutually beneficial interest for both the Greenleaf cannabis and also to the town. And we commit as a local retail establishment to hire local vendors, local employees, to the extent that we can, that they're qualified in the area, in both, as we mentioned earlier, as much of a diverse base of employees, and also our vendors, along with the hiring and along with the running of the facility. We also will work and consistently work with local law enforcement to approve, and also the word improve, security plans, because as the time goes on, there may be an issue that the town may have with lighting or something or the police may have something to do with security concerning video, whatever that may be. We would consistently have meetings throughout the year or years that the Greenleaf would be established in the town, making sure that the more or less of a checks and balance system between our facility and the town. And that's how the host community agreement works. It's basically an arrangement in which the licensed facility works with the town and has certain requirements that they're required to adhere to by the town. And it's an agreement that we actually agree to with the town. Next slide, please. The process of applying for a retail adult establishment consists of two parts. And the track that we're on is that we have to submit, in addition to being approved and going through an approval process locally through the planning board and the zoning and getting a special permit, we also have to submit a application to the Cannabis Control Commission, which we are thoroughly checked through an application of intent, a background check, and a management and operations profile. So it's a very lengthy application process with the state. And we have to specifically disclose to the state who the principals are, where the source of our investment monies are coming for. And also we have to disclose to the state our security plan, all of our operations and procedures, and basically a timeline as to what we intend to do. We have to submit all of our architectural plans to the state. We have to submit a proposed list of a business operations plan along with a business plan. And so the application is quite lengthy and can take up to 6 months just to complete the application before the application is what's called deemed complete, before the state would even, the Cannabis Control Commission would even look at the application. So as part of this process, the first part of this process today was that we have to conduct we're conducting a community outreach meeting in which we're informing the residents, abutters, and any interested parties that we are requesting or intending to submit an application, and also for consideration with the town to locate this adult retail cannabis facility, our adult retail cannabis facility at 88 Mass Ave. So this first step is to conduct the outreach meeting, and along with a host agreement, the town would agree to granting a host agreement, and then we would submit an application to the Cannabis Control Commission. Once we actually complete the application, then the commission has 90 days to grant or deny a provisional license. Once we get the provisional license, we would also at that point be working with the town on the special permit and going through the site plan and obtaining the special permit from the town after we worked out all of the requirements for the municipality from the standpoint of the zoning, the compliance with the building official, compliance with the police department, the fire department, and any other municipal departments. At that point, we would then go into a phase where we would be issued a building permit from the town. And in the meantime, once we were issued the building permit, we would then have to have our plans reviewed by the architectural board at the Cannabis Control Commission. Once the commission approves the plans that the building inspector had approved, then we can start construction of the facility. Once we have the construction complete, then we would apply for a final license to operate. So this process, as you can see just from this timeline, is fairly lengthy. It's not uncommon from the point of where we are tonight, introducing the facility or the proposed facility, to the point of when we would have a final license. It could be in upwards of 2 years, or the year 2022, depending on how the process goes, depending how many applications were before us. A lot depends on how the process goes through the system. Next slide, please. So as I said a little earlier, I gave a little explanation. We laid it out in the sense that you could actually see how it all works. But we have to submit the complete application. So that's after we would receive a host agreement. We would then still have to submit the complete application, obtain the provisional license, submit the architectural plans, and then build out, and then obtain a final license. Municipal level, where we are today, we are at the community outreach meeting where we're introducing ourselves to the community. And we still in the issue, we can obtain a host agreement. Then we obtain a special permit from the planning board. That is at the same time we're working the provisional license. And then we would work with local law enforcement on the security plan, coordinate everything with the municipal departments, the police, fire, building, et cetera. So that's just sort of an overview, a broad overview as to what it takes to actually license the facility and actually go from where we are today to actually being a licensed facility to sell the product. Next slide. So at this point, I mean, we thank you for, going through the slides we wanted to introduce, but we want to open it up to questions. And, we can elaborate on anything in the presentation that anyone would have questions on. And I'm sure that Mary would concur with any questions that you may have.
Absolutely.
This is Neil Trahan. I'm the moderator for the meeting.
Yes.
I would just like to ask anyone who has a question to please raise their hand. Depending on the device you're using, you can use the reactions to raise your hand. You may have to click on the participants button and go to more to raise your hand. And if you're calling in, you'll need to hit *9 to raise your hand.
Did anyone have any questions for us, or we'd be happy to answer anything that that you need some clarification about, or?
Katie Adams, could you ask your question? Unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, sure. I had one question regarding the part where you said that there would be counseling offered regarding side effects and such. What credentials are required for employees that offer such services?
We're not saying that we're having a resident psychologist or medical person out there. I'm basically giving that particular person that has the questions a brochure as to what the side effects can be. But we're not medical personnel. We can't specifically say how that's going to this product is going to interact. Just no similar that if you went into a liquor store and you purchased a bottle of wine, you're going to see that what the side effects are. That it does say it could impair you for driving, it could impair you for use of machinery, etc. We're not counseling. We're not going to say, okay, you could take this product and this is the side effects that could happen. I mean, there's recommended dosages on all the products.
Yeah, if I could just add too, Katie, nice to see you tonight. No, we are, obviously, I think you had mentioned before you might have a pharmacy background. I don't have that, and neither does Constant. So no, I don't think he meant to give you the impression that, we would be counseling anybody in pharmacy or what dosages people should take or anything like that. I think it's more of just educating people on what products are sold, and but certainly anything further than that, since we don't have the credentials and our staff, I don't know if they will have the credentials or not, but if they don't have the credentials, then certainly we would not be offering that information. We don't want to we certainly don't want to give anyone inaccurate information, of course.
Katie, I understand that you have a follow-up question. I'm going to let Peter go first. Peter, could you unmute yourself? And then Katie, I'll let you ask the follow-up. Thank you.
You guys hear me okay?
Could you speak up a little bit? I'm sorry. Can't quite hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about that. New computer with new controls, so bear with me. Thank you very much for taking the time to redo this presentation. I understand that you had a previous similar meeting that I was unable to attend, so I appreciate you taking the time to do this tonight. I'm also cognizant of the fact that this is an arduous and involved process, but I ultimately think that that's a good thing. This is an industry that does need good regulation and oversight, but ultimately, you know, I hope to welcome you to the community and have you be very good corporate and business citizens. Part of the Lunenburg community. I did want to clarify, and I apologize. I've been having technical issues all night. If you could just kind of state again the financial component to the town. I know that you stated that there's a percentage of revenue that effectively works as a tax. Is that a surtax that's paid by the consumer, or is that paid from you, or exactly how does that work?
That's paid on gross sales. So for instance, if the facility was to gross $1 million, 3% of that retail sales would go to the town. There are other taxes on their sales tax, et cetera. Within the first approximately 20 to 23% of the sales it will be going to taxes in some form to the government. But it's a strict 3% to the town.
And have you done any kind of pro forma at this point, or do you have any comparative analysis in terms of what you anticipate for, let's say, first calendar year revenues in a business like this?
Depending on the traffic flow of people, the revenues could gross somewhere between $3 million to $5 million. It could be lower, depending on your traffic flow per hour, depending on your spend. The average consumer who comes into a store such as this, they come in and they may spend $70 a person, between $50 and $70. There could be 20 people an hour that come in. I mean, it all depends. I mean, realistically, but on the low side, we would say that $1 million gross, somewhere in there.
Okay, Katie, could you unmute yourself? You can ask your follow-up question, and then we'll go to Matthew.
Okay, sure. I just wanted to follow up because I definitely feel like what drew my attention was a section talking about a bit of counseling or a bit of information. And, from my former life, I don't practice pharmacy anymore right now, but, people who seek counseling through medical professionals, I don't want there to be any confusion here that this is a recreational facility or non-medical, and any referencing to studies and documents, and it just kind of catches me funny. I know the third study that was referenced involving impacts on children. All of this is so new that from my perspective, the lens we have on it, I don't think we can tout a lot of benefits. And the vote in Lunenburg was just over the 50%. So I think it's a fragile topic in town because it's really half the people on the original state-based question. Half the folks voted no, half the folks voted yes. And when we originally started discussing this as a community, a lot of people who voted yes because they believed in decriminalization. They may not have voted yes because they believed in selling marijuana to their community. So although some people see the benefit and will feel positive about this, there's still a large member of the community, like myself, that I'm not interested in seeing recreational drugs sold. Although there may be tax benefits to the community. I look at it as the more money we get from this, it's also correlated to the more people using drugs. And just from my background, I don't feel great about that. So I just wanted to bring up some sensitivity to the community, since it's supposed to be community outreach, that somebody can show studies to document a benefit. And I could probably show up to the same meeting with a pile of studies that show the negative impacts of drugs on a community. And so I guess I'm just speaking tonight to say, let's just be very sensitive and careful with what this is. This is selling drugs to a community, and we don't all feel good about it. Thank you.
And we
No, no.
understand what you have to say, understand that, kind of, Katie. But let me just go back to the consumer education part that you probably, just to clarify. What I was speaking specifically when I talk about education, I was talking education materials are going to be available. Warnings about the product, specifically under the influence of marijuana and driving, machinery should not be operated. Information in these brochures about the selection of marijuana and about the different effects of various strains of marijuana, as well as the various forms and routes of administration. These are some of the education that we would be giving to the consumer. Information describing the proper dosages and different routes of administration. And emphasis is usually on the smallest amount possible to achieve the desired effect. And the impact and the potency has to be explained to the customer. So that's where I'm getting to. It's as far as their substance abuse and anything regarding that there's referral information for them to go into a substance abuse program if they wanted to, or additional counseling. It has absolutely nothing to do with our facility. But in being very clear to that consumer that they cannot, the customer, that they're not going to sell this marijuana to any other individual, that they're specifically buying it for their own use. And brochures related to the penalties for possession or distribution of marijuana, for instance, in violation of Massachusetts law. So, I mean, this is some of the things that we would actually be educating the consumer on. If consumer will come into the store, they're not going to know, for instance, well, which night should I buy an edible, or should I buy a vape? Should I buy a topical? That would be some of the questions that a typical consumer could have. The personal feelings as to regarding marijuana itself, I mean, I can only speak to, the store itself. I can't go into the political aspects of the store. I mean, at that point, I mean, that's a political stance and I appreciate your stance on it, but we're actually seeing federally that it's actually starting to change. And we're also seeing other states in New England. We're looking at Connecticut looking into it. We're looking at Vermont legalizing. We're looking at many of the surrounding states. Even to Rhode Island today, I read an article where Rhode Island wants to legalize. Eventually, we're seeing that happening, and I believe if we were to legalize this, we're doing it the proper way, in the legal way, not through the black market. Because if a person wants to purchase a drug, they're going to get it through the black market. And I would much rather regulate this industry and see this industry regulated than the black market from what's happening. And so but that's just a personal stance on this. But so that's why we take a very strong stance on this.
If I can just make a comment to Katie, no, we appreciate your position. And I understand it. I have children of my own, and I certainly understand, people, families, and so forth. And I know Lunenburg's a very family-oriented community. I think that was one of the reasons why we really thought the location was excellent, because we're very close to the city line of Fitchburg. And actually not too far from that city line is another marijuana store. I think it's called Roots, which is right there. And as far as I know, there's actually going to be another one that's going to be, I'm actually originally from Lunenburg, so I know that area very well. And actually just going down to the intersection where John Fitch Highway is, right across from that, there is apparently going to be another marijuana store, which is going to be located in that area. So we were very pleased that we could find the location that we did, because we really felt that it would really lessen the impact or any repercussions or any even, we were hoping any negative impacts to the town of Lunenburg by having that particular location. And again, even having the unit, which is in the back, we thought, that would be great because again, we're not broadcasting it that this is a marijuana store to any adolescents or any children or anything like that. And again, because this industry is so regulated, we can only sell to individuals that are age 21 and older. So again, I think there is some benefits to having a legalized industry, and to, as Constance said, to control any type of black market, and get rid of the black market, really. So.
All right, thank you. Next, I'm going to have Matthew ask your question or make your comment. After Matthew, I have a statement to read from a community member who could not be here tonight. So Matthew, could you unmute yourself? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good evening. My name is Matthew Brenner. I was just wondering. It actually has to do with the location, specifically. With that local roots store already being in place, one potential competitor with another one coming up nearby on the corner with the John Fitch Highway. I'm wondering. This is obviously not a cheap endeavor for you to even pursue engaging in. So there must have been some market research or something that went into looking at the area and saying that it could support 3 businesses of this nature. Or if not, I'm curious just what's going to set Greenleaf Botanicals apart that would keep you in business so that it's not you wasting your money and the town putting a lot of person hours into pursuing this.
Well, many of our products were organic base for one, and our wholesalers trying to purchase our products from an organic base. Also, present market in Massachusetts, there's not enough supply to meet the demand. And depending on how you run the facility, your hours of operation, your distribution as far as the product, whether that would be an appointment only basis, whether that would be on a walk-in basis, and the COVID has changed a lot. Our products will be set out through our advertising. It's through our marketing plan. I feel that we would have a upper edge on our marketing plan and our products that we're going to sell into the store. I don't want to give away our whole marketing strategy right now at this point, only because of the local competition. It's like a McDonald's on one corner, a Burger King on the other. But with the industry, I mean, there is a certain amount of money, obviously, that one needs to survive concerning to keep the store and to make it beneficial for the town. But we did a marketing study with the traffic flow and population, et cetera, and where we thought we would get our business from, and within probably a 25-mile radius, we would probably obtain quite a bit of the customers. So we feel that there was enough population to support another store, and the store that we're proposing, which is 2,000 square foot, it's not like we're going to put in a facility where there's some facilities where they'll spend millions and millions of dollars to put in these stores. That wasn't our intent to put in a 5,000 square foot store. We could have taken at least one of the stores in the front, which is the former rental center, and at least the entire space, and had this huge cannabis store, but that wasn't not in our marketing plan. So we just feel that the area can support another store based on the market study that we did. I mean, and I hope that answered your question, but I mean, I'm just trying to give you an idea. In the town of Lunenburg, that specific area, we thought it would just be a perfect niche rather than locating it closer to town center in that other area, or very close to Leominster, or we just felt that Fitchburg was a better location next to Fitchburg.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, I have a statement from a community member who could not be here tonight. I'm going to just read this. Good evening. My name is Dave Rogers. I am unable to participate this evening via Zoom. However, I feel strongly against your proposed location in Lunenburg and want to share my thoughts and concerns. Please explain how your proposed location in our town will enhance the quality of life for Lunenburg residents, foster a positive atmosphere for all of our population to be proud of, be considered a welcome addition to our business community, and add to the overall health and well-being of our town. Your proposed location could be adjacent to a pizza shop if the rumors are correct. Nice, really nice. Imagine the view of potential pot customers waiting in line to enter your cannabis distribution retail shop and pizza shop customers going in next door to pick up the family order. Frankly, I see no positive reflection for our town. I am told that your chosen business model affords the opportunity to realize huge profits while contributing little to Lunenburg's quality of life, a positive atmosphere, and a business to be proud of. Please do not attempt to showcase the potential tax benefits for our town. The negatives far outweigh any positive spins you could concoct. You are proposing to distribute a harmful gateway drug that could have terrible lifelong effects. Thank you for the opportunity to express my strong opinion against your business locating in Lunenburg. I hope that you will be denied any opportunity to establish your cannabis distribution retail shop in our town of Lunenburg, Massachusetts. Are there any other comments or questions tonight? Please raise your hand if you have any. Doesn't appear that there are any further questions or comments.
I just want to, in conclusion, I just want to thank everyone for attending. On behalf of Greenleaf Botanicals and Mary and I thank everyone for attending, and we feel that the Greenleaf Botanicals would be an asset to the community, and we look forward to working with the community as an outstanding business in the community, independent of anyone, political atmosphere concerning this, because we feel that based on our, presentation, our experience, that we would actually be an asset to the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you for the second presentation.
Thank you for all of your listening. Thank you.